the cherry-picked data, manipulated facts, all in an attempt to mislead the public.
We're actually moving forward to suspend the sales tax for Canadians so that they can afford the basic necessities that they will need, whether it's fresh-made produce.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister claims he's taking taxes off of fresh-made produce. He really does. He really does think that food comes from the grocery store, not from the farmers who actually grow the produce. That's why he, I guess, thinks he can carbon tax those farmers without taxing the food. And then you have his friend, the Maserati Marxist over there in the Canadians are out of money. How about a carbon tax election?
My basic white girl is definitely coming out today because how I feel about all of this is just ew. That is the best word. That's the most articulate word I can think of to express myself. Absolute ew. I'm Jasmine Lane. This is Over Opinionated. Subscribe, like, share, give me a follow on other social media platforms as well. Whew. Let's get into this.
So while conservatives slow down our recovery, we have accelerated our post-pandemic recovery and are now on track to have the highest growth rate in the G7. That's in addition to Canadian work.
Honourable Member for Thornhill.
Her government lost control of our borders. They've lost control of immigration. They've clearly lost control of the deficit too, and they're trying to cover up their tracks. So I will ask again for those in the back, and I will say it slower, what is Canada's deficit this year?
The Conservative track record on affordability. So they will not support feeding hungry kids healthy meals at school. 400,000 more kids, they say, no, we don't want to feed you.
I've already done a video about this in the past, the dangers of government dependency, future communism, and also the National School Food Program to really break it down. But the fact that he even has the audacity to say they're not supporting feeding kids healthy food at school. The National School Food Program would account for a meal that is the equivalent to roughly $1.86 or 87 cents per day, per child, per day of the school year. So yeah, I don't really know what kind of healthy food that's going to buy you. A banana? Is that what that's going towards, is buying a single banana?
They will not support a GST break over the holidays on food, toys, and other essentials over the holidays. They say, no, we won't support a GST cut for Canadians. They also won't lift a finger to fight climate change, which is cited in the report as being the greatest driver of food price inflation. When will they get on side with Canadians and actually support?
I don't know about you, but I have a really hard time believing that they actually believe what they say in the House of Commons. How can you? That was painful to listen to. Either way, Statistics Canada came out with their employment report. And in it, there's one cherry-picked data point there that is 51,000 new jobs were added. That's so great, right? 51,000 new jobs. We must have a thriving economy. And if you don't feel how thriving our economy is, that's clearly because you have a bad vibe, right, Chrystia Freeland? Well, if you skip past that part that the Liberals, I'm sure, would hope you wouldn't dig deeper into and would absolutely just forget about after seeing that one little piece of information there, you dig a little bit deeper and you find out that with the 51,000 new jobs, we also had unemployment increase to 6.8%, which is the highest it's been, excluding the pandemic era, in 7 years. I don't know, does that sound like a thriving economy to you? Manufacturing jobs also down by 29,000. It's weird, isn't it? Because if we had a thriving economy, why would manufacturing jobs be down by 29,000? That's 29,000 people who lost their jobs. In Canada, we have so many people who export from us, right? So what the heck is going on here? The 29,000 people lost their jobs. Well, could it be perhaps the crippling carbon tax that is companies who have to pay it at a much larger scale than the average individual household does? They can't afford to keep these employees anymore. And worse, that carbon tax has also been absolutely disastrous for Canada's trade partnerships and Canada's exports. Because if you were a business in another part of the world who wanted to get something that was supplied out of Canada, But you could also get it almost in any other country in the world. Why would you choose Canada when you have to pay way more money for it because of this carbon tax, when you could just buy it from somebody else who doesn't have that? And again, when you're talking about manufacturing exports, that's a lot of money. It's a big lump sum. So that carbon tax, for the average person may not seem like a lot on a receipt. But when you're making a multi-thousand billion-dollar purchase, that's a lot of extra money all at once that you would surely want to avoid, because the economy worldwide is something that people like to try to save money in.
My colleague points to food and shelter as pressure points for Canadian households. I actually agree, but let's actually look at what the different parties are proposing to do about it. First, on food, he's complaining about the high price when he literally is voting against a tax break on food.
Just wanted to quickly inform you on that one. According to the National Senate Finance Committee, they have published an analysis on the GST holiday break, concluding that it will save the average Canadian roughly $4.51, not per day, total. Anyway, carry on.
He's literally opposing a national school food program which is helping hungry kids eat. Madam Speaker, when it comes to shelter, his own city is benefiting from hundreds of millions of dollars in investments directly to build homes more quickly, and he is supporting a leader who vows to cut that program. I won't take lessons from the Conservative Party, who cuts the very programs that put food on the table for families.
Member for Calgary Centre.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This member keeps trying to talk about putting Band-Aids on the wounds his economic policies are causing. But step one is to reverse inflationary policies. Cancel the carbon tax that it hikes the price of food, fuel, and rent. Food inflation has skyrocketed by over 36% over the past 8 years. Higher deficits lead to higher inflation and a weaker Canadian dollar, leading to more inflation. This spending isn't free. Just ask the 2 million Canadians lining up at food banks. Time is up. When will this Prime Minister call a carbon tax election?
But the Liberals will still tell you, no, but we have 51,000 new jobs that were created in this Statistics Canada report. This is proof of how good our economy is. But what they won't tell you is that youth unemployment skyrocketed to 13.9%. Oh yeah, and of that 51,000 new jobs, 45,000 of those jobs weren't, for manufacturers. They weren't for kids who needed to get a first-time job at a restaurant or a fast food joint. 45,000 of those new jobs were actually bureaucratic jobs. No, not new people building homes, not new people working in healthcare. They were bureaucratic jobs, the paper pushers, for unnecessary overinflated bureaucracy, I'd like to add. And let's dig even deeper into that, because they brag all the time, the wage growth, it's been increasing. It's at 4.1% this year. When you factor in inflation and the fact that job wages have not grown with that, they haven't really grown at all, actually, you would be very clearly able to see that Canadians are not thriving at all. Actually, we are really, really struggling. But if you say that and you complain about it, well, hey, now you're just a Russian asset. Oh, that's a Pierre Poilievre conservative talking point. No, that's actually just me sharing my lived experience in this country over the last few years. But thank you so much for trying to belittle the very real concerns that many, many Canadians have. And here's the problem with all of these extra initiatives that the Trudeau government likes to sit on their high horse about. Every single one of those costs money. Every single one of those involves borrowing, because we are in the largest deficit our country has ever seen in the history of our country, larger than that of all previous prime ministers combined. That's how big it is. And those borrowing costs to fund these things, like the National School Food Program, dental care, the $250 rebate that they're now looking into expanding to even more people, those things cause more inflation.
Silent night, holiday bright. Mr. Speaker, we did what's right. With inflation still hard to bear, we voted for real relief to show we care. GST, HST off essential needs, we're helping families to succeed. Silent night, not all is right. The leader of the opposition refused this light. The leader who vowed to axe the tax turned his back when time to act. Broken promises Canadians see a leader that's out of harmony. Silent night, the question is clear. Why deny hope this time of year? Canadians deserve to know why tax relief was met with no. This Christmas season, from my family to yours, may joy and cheer bring warmth and peace for the year. Thank you.
And none of what Statistics Canada reported shows that Canada is on its way out. You know, that we're doing good. We're making steps of improvement. No, every single detail in there shows that we are hurting and it's not getting any better anytime soon. That's the thing. It's such a nice fantasy to think about being able to fund all of these things if you had quite literally the best of intentions in mind, which I have a hard time believing Trudeau and Jagmeet Singh do. More and more stuff that comes out about them just makes me really solid in my belief that they are absolutely trying to create a government-dependent state, which is how communism starts. And we've seen how awful that has been throughout history. Yeah, if you're struggling, it's nice to get a subsidy. It's nice to get a handout. But the struggling mind, who is so focused on just surviving, has a really difficult time realizing and even caring about the damage, the long-term damage that will do to an economy and a nation when it's all said and done. We don't need any more handouts. What we do need is somebody to actually start spending responsibly, to fix our deficit, to stop giving billions of dollars that we do not have to other countries.
How come provincial Liberals are running away from the consumer carbon price? How come they're running away from that policy? If it's so good, it's economists want it, how come all your other provincial...
Because it's tough politically, and fighting climate change is difficult, and that's where you see leadership.
Are you saying Ms. Crombie's not showing leadership? Are you saying she's a weak leader? Are you saying she's not showing leadership?
I'm saying that it's tough to fight climate change, and being a leader is doing difficult things sometimes, even if they're unpopular, but they're the right thing to do.
You know, I read this article once upon a time that was about conservatives and liberals and comparing the two, and how a lot of people who are conservatives are those who recognize that the government isn't here to save you, because they lived a lifestyle where they had to save themselves. And to me, the way that the Liberal government is, I don't believe anymore, is grounded in good intention. It strikes me a lot as though they are in an abusive relationship with us. They are the ones who have caused this mess, but they are also the ones who try to boast about the fact that they're giving you all of these handouts. It's like your abuser who keeps kicking you down the stairs. And when you can't crawl up them anymore because you're so weak and exhausted, they offer you a hand to help you get back up on your feet, only to just kick you back down again, because that's how that cycle works. I'm Jasmine Lane. Thank you so much for watching another episode of Over Opinionated. I'd love to know your thoughts, your lived experience in the comments down below. I know that a lot of people on the left will try to tell you that you're wrong. They'll claim that your actual observations of the world around you are propaganda funded by Russia. But I know that that's not true. And I know that there are so many of us who are starting to use our voices more and more because we have actually had enough. We see right through the pattern and we know how this ends. We've seen how this ends historically, time and time again. And it really does appear as though Canada is not far off from some of those disastrous regimes.